We begin tonight with major developments on two of the President Trump's biggest campaign promises. Today, the House of Representatives passed two Trump-backed bills that get tougher on illegal immigration. One blocks funding to sanctuary cities, and the other is Kate's Law, which increases penalties on illegal immigrants who defy deportation multiple times. The bill is named after Kate Steinle, who was murdered in 2015 by a 5-time deported felon in San Francisco. After the vote, President Trump released a statement saying, quote, "I applaud the House for passing two crucial measures to save and protect American lives. The implementation of these policies will make our communities safer. Now that the House has acted, I urge the Senate to take up these bills, pass them, and send them to my desk." But first, President Trump's revised travel ban took effect just an hour ago after the Supreme Court on Monday ruled much of it can be implemented before the High Court makes a final judgment on the executive order. Chief National Correspondent Ed Henry joins us from Dulles International Airport, just outside of Washington, D.C., with the details. Ed, what do you know?
Good evening, guys. We are simply not seeing any of the chaos or controversy we saw here at Dulles and JFK airports all around the country at the end of the first week of the Trump administration. Remember when that first executive order had been signed. Tonight, we are not seeing that kind of chaos, in part because this is a win for President Trump. He got a partial victory by the Supreme Court earlier this week, as you said, to move forward for 90 days on this travel ban affecting 6 mostly Muslim countries. So you do not have resist protesters here at Dulles or other airports. There are officials, I can tell you, from Amnesty International standing by just to my left at one of the baggage claim areas, waiting to see if anyone's rights are violated, any problems that they see. But so far, there has been absolutely nothing. The other piece of this, of course, is that, remember, that was a self-inflicted wound at the beginning of the administration when the Trump White House rushed out the first executive order, didn't have all the details fleshed out. This time, this is much more narrowly written, and the court, the High Court, gave the green light earlier this week because let's look at what this new order says. It says if you have an existing visa and you have a bona fide relationship with someone here in the U.S., you can come in safely. A parent, a spouse, a child, a son-in-law, daughter-in-law, a sibling. You do not have a bona fide relationship if it's just a grandparent, grandchild, aunt, uncle, basically an in-law extended family member. So the bottom line tonight is this is a win for the president. His latest executive order on this travel ban is moving forward. But interesting that just moments ago we heard the state of Hawaii has filed, yet another court challenge to this executive order anyway. Even though there's no chaos at airports tonight, even though it's more narrowly written, there are lawyers on the left still tonight trying to challenge it, guys.
All right. Thank you, Ed Henry. And Kimberly, when that original executive order was rescinded and they wrote this one in a much more narrowly targeted way, now you have tonight the Supreme Court saying, okay, you can go ahead and do this, and this will be in effect for 90 days. And it looks to me like this is just going to be smooth sailing while they put in some sort of new extreme vetting that they haven't released yet.
Yeah, and I think you're right. That's an accurate assessment, Dana.
Oh,
and
thanks.
so, and this is what we also predicted, on the show, that in fact it would pass constitutional muster, and the SCOTUS, agreed, the Supreme Court of the United States, and now it's basically an issue of implementation and making sure that it goes through smoothly. And you probably think, well, this would have been nice if this had happened right from the beginning. But as you see, the people that are the obstructionists that want to use the courts as a political arm for their movement are still trying to throw in the face of the Supreme Court and want to try to make a problem here. So let's see what happens with that. I mean, Hawaii, who knew? The biggest activist
a lot of people from Sudan vacationing in Hawaii, apparently.
Or trying to get there.
Big concerns.
Now, you can understand, of course, it is very beautiful. The Democrats today, and we've had the travel ban piece, but the Democrats today largely voted against the Kate Steinle law and also something that would have actually addressed sanctuary cities. It is not something that Steny Hoyer, the minority whip, had actually said that they sort of twisted arms on. They let people vote their conscience, and yet still most of the Democrats all voted in the same way. Why is that?
Oh, I think it's pretty clear that what you see from the mayors, from the governors, especially the Democrats, as you point out, is that they think this is not helpful in terms of law enforcement. And even you hear this from the police chiefs and the police officials throughout the country who represent police organizations, that they think that this is, in fact, going to open the door to people who are here without documentation, illegal immigrants, not cooperating with police for fear that it will lead to deportation and all sorts of recriminations and charges of snitching on one immigrant, snitching on another. They don't want it. But I think for the Democrats also, I think they see this as demonization of immigrants overall. And so it becomes like a cultural divide, with the president having run a campaign in which he demonized especially the rapists and thieves that he said were coming from Mexico. And you have Democrats saying, you know, we're a country of immigrants, and we're very proud of it this 4th of July, and we're not going to go along with this game.
Well, so the president says it's about illegal criminal immigration. And, in fact, here's Laura Wilkerson speaking earlier today. Her son was killed.
He now is serving a 99-year sentence, which in Texas means he's got 30 years to do before he's up for parole. We continue to have to battle some of that. We've had some legislation lately that wants to allow these killers to accrue good time. It seems as the families are always battling to stay ahead of the game, that someone wants to change it and let these killers off easy and out early. Not one of us deserves to be sitting up here.
So, Jesse, the anguish happens over and over again, not only just because the states are trying to change their laws in terms of good behavior, et cetera, because of overcrowding of prisons, and what the legislation that they are willing to support now would say that we don't want any other family member to have to go through this in the future.
Of course not. It's common sense legislation, but the Democrats have no common sense. Kate's law is very specific. If you're a criminal illegal alien and you are deported from this country and you get caught sneaking back in, you go to jail. 26 or 24 Democrats supported that. I applaud those Democrats. I don't see any reason to not support locking up criminal illegal aliens who get caught re-entering the country illegally.
Right.
It discourages illegal immigration, number one, and number two, it keeps criminal illegal aliens off the streets, thus making it safer for American citizens. I haven't heard any good reason to not support Kate's law, and I would like all the Democrats to tell Kate Steinle's family, or any family whose son or daughter or family member was victimized by a criminal illegal alien who was deported and came back, the reason that they don't support Kate's law.
Can I just
it's
interrupt
astounding.
you for a second?
Sure, please do, because I'd love to hear a good
Just to quickly
explanation.
answer before we move on. You're ready. If you've committed a crime and you illegally enter the United States again, you would be put in jail. What this law was about is enhancing the penalties.
Yes. So what's wrong with enhancing those penalties?
Well, no, that's a different argument than what you just said.
Okay, but
it's not that you don't get arrested now.
Okay, but you know what that does when you put, and Kimberly can speak to this, when you put a tougher sentence on the back end of something like that, it discourages criminal activity.
Deterrent effect.
It has a deterrent effect.
On this.
What the Kate's law, the travel ban show is that Trump's mind and his heart is in the right place, even if his fingers aren't. These are both small tools as part of a larger shed of safety and security. What I find alarming about this is that these things aren't like horrible, life-changing events. Yet liberals react as if they are. So even if you try to make a small temporary act like the travel ban, you cannot trust the left or the media with national security because they constantly react as if this is something either bigoted or out of bounds or unconstitutional. Even when you try the smallest thing, which is a temporary ban on 6 countries that are lawless. They are lawless. This isn't a travel ban. It's a lawless ban. To Kate's law, President Trump did a very important thing. He brought a segment of victims to the table that were never at the table before. The table of politicians and media have acceptable victims. They're usually victims of police brutality or Islamophobia and racism. What Trump did was he brought these people to the table and forced everybody else to cover this story, which had never been covered before. And by the way, this is, and now I'm going to bounce back to the travel ban. This is the future. This is what we should be doing. You know, Ed Henry was at an airport. You have to look at America like an airport. You want to come here, you got to go through security. That's the future. Because when you have terror mating with technology, where one person could launch a dirty bomb, this is how you have to look at security. Both of these things are about national security. They're about the safety of the country. They are right. And if you overreact to it, it shows that you're not an adult thinking about things.
Well, as the juvenile at the table.
And also your statistics, you don't have statistics for the idea of people telling on each other. I've looked into that. There are no statistics.
Yeah,
that
No,
say-
let
you
me
don't
just
lock
say,
up people for snitching.
This is not even
There's no
close.
snitching statistics.
There's not even close in terms of the police and the police
They don't
chief
have statistics.
in opposition
They don't.
to this.
Other police officers will
Okay,
dispute
fine.
that.
But I just want to say,
Never a problem for me.
as the juvenile at the table, let me just quickly say to you, the reason that some Democrats might object is they say, oh, well, gee, how many people from these countries have committed some terrorist act or even plotted some terrorist act in the United States?
You didn't have a
since
problem
the
when President Obama did it.
There have been.
No, yes.
Yeah,
so
what
I'd be
about the
interested.
knife attack in the mall
No.
in
fact,
Minnesota?
today I saw statistics that said beginning from year
Okay.
2000, there have been more terror attacks plotted by people in the United
All right,
States than people
excellent,
coming
excellent,
from outside
excellent.
the United
Okay, number
States.
one, you didn't mind. No one minded it when President Obama did it. But the other thing that
Right.
drives me crazy is, what do you have to offer? If you don't like any of this stuff, why don't you bring something to the table? Somebody has options that they're offering, and everybody on the left, everybody in the media, they do the same damn thing. They say that sucks, and then they move on. But they don't
No.
have one option.
Well,
Are you
they're
kidding me?
caring
We've
more
had
about-
vetting. We
No.
have intense vetting. And in
But you
fact,
didn't mind it when Obama did it.
Wait, the San Bernardino shooters came in, and they didn't even look at their Facebook page, and it's filled with
Wait.
jihadi propaganda.
Of course,
That's not
look,
vetting, Juan. That's
you're
not
talking
vetting.
about the wife, I think, in that case. But in general, we
Okay.
have tremendous
So there you go.
vetting.
I'm talking about
Our
the wife.
intelligence agencies work so hard. If you look at the refugees, 2 years, and of course, what part of the argument that we haven't even considered here is, freedom of religion, constitutional protections.
No. You
know,
don't have a
that's part of it.
constitutional
It's not
protection to
just a
re-enter the
national
country
security issue.
illegally.
Not constitutional.
And no, it's not. And
Yeah.
that's the problem. But they're more concerned about protecting the rights of criminal illegal aliens than innocent people who are murdered by those that would re-enter and reoffend, that are recidivists. This is not demonizing immigrants. We are a country founded by immigrants. We embrace immigrants, but embrace our laws and follow them. And you want to come in this country, do what all the hardworking people that have had to hire lawyers and get people to represent them and work hard to be able to wait their turn in line to take their test and be here. Not people that come over the border and commit murders or commit crimes that we have seen happen to these families across the country. People are tired of it.
Coming to America
There's no
is a
nobility
movie.
in
It's
it.
not a right.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear it. But
Wow.
this is
Eddie
not
Murphy.
news.
It's profound.
This is like a cultural divide, I mean, I just think there are people
But
who
it's
buy
also
into it.
it's also pretty narrow, and it's only for 90 days.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
it's not that big a deal.